Ryan with EastWest here, and in this video, we'll be talking about how to start making music from the very beginning. We'll cover the gear and software that you'll need, and then we're going to build a track in real time so you can kind of get a feel for the process. So let's talk about the gear. And to begin with, you'll of course want a reliable computer. I recommend at least 16 gigabytes of RAM and a minimum of a 2.7 gigahertz quad-core processor. The next thing you'll need is a good MIDI keyboard. I think the more keys, the better. And at a bare minimum, you'll need a mod wheel and a pitch bend wheel. Finally, you'll need a way to hear what you are writing. So a good pair of headphones is going to be great for untreated rooms, but if the budget allows, then monitors in a treated room are going to be optimal. Just keep in mind that you'll also need an audio interface. Now, on the software side of things, you really only need two components: a digital audio workstation and sample libraries. Now, as far as digital audio workstations go, I happen to work in Logic Pro, which I think is great if you're on a Mac. There's also Cubase, which is fantastic. There's Protools, FL Studio, Reaper, and plenty other great digital audio workstations to choose from. And if I didn't mention your favorite one, go ahead and give them a shout out in the comments below. Now, after that, you'll want to invest in some quality sample libraries or virtual instruments, and that's where EastWest comes in. So the beauty of our flagship product, which is ComposerCloud Plus, is that it's not just a single library, it's not even a collection of libraries, it's our entire catalog of libraries. And the beauty of it is that you can actually audition sounds from the cloud, and you can then either download those individual instruments or you can download the entire libraries. It's really up to you. So it's very modular, it's very easy to use and intuitive, and best of all, it's super easy on the wallet, so you can spend more on things like computer hardware and better studio monitors. So let's explore just a little bit of what's in ComposerCloud Plus. Of course, you have a ton of orchestral content. I think the Hollywood series is going to be a great place to start. I consider it to just be an industry standard at this point. This is one of the combined patches. I love just kind of sketching things out with this one. And Hollywood Orchestra features truly world-class legato. The realism is just outstanding. And then here's some of the brass, and the expressiveness and range of dynamics is truly world-class. Of course, you've got woodwinds, and these can do pretty much anything. They're super agile and, again, very expressive. There is a ton of cinematic percussion content. These taikos are from our Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra series. Then you've got synths like Iconic, and this one is great for modern production work. There's a ton of vocal content as well. This is Hollywood Backup Singers. There's plenty of cinematic vocal content as well, like Hollywood Fantasy Voices or Hollywood Choirs, which actually features a really world-class word builder function. Let's check out one of these phrases here. And that's just barely scratching the surface of what's in ComposerCloud Plus. You've got content for every major genre of music, and it's all truly world-class. So now that we have everything we need to start making music, let's go ahead and write something. And I'm going to start in the Full String Shorts mod patch from Hollywood Strings 2. And when I'm recording these lines in, I am going to have the low latency mode enabled. So when I turn that off, you'll be able to hear the full processed signal. So let's go ahead and just play something in. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and play in some flautando strings just to kind of fill things out here. Now we're going to introduce some pizzicato strings just to switch up the textures here. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead and add some woodwinds just to introduce some more color here. I'm going to start the clarinet around measure 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this MIDI data into the English horn track, and I'm going to bump these down by 1/3, and then adjust these. All right, now let's go ahead and add some harp and tuned percussion just to kind of fill things out. And I want to add some bass shorts just to introduce some more low end here at measure 14. It's just going to help things build. All right, next I want to add some brass. So I'm going to be using this patch from Hollywood Orchestrator. This is just a brass ensemble shorts patch. And I want to go ahead and double the brass shorts with some woodwinds. So I'm just going to pull these down into the woodwinds shorts track. And then I'm going to pull these up an octave. All right, I think those brass and woodwind stabs need a little bit of help in the percussion. So I'm going to add some taikos from Hollywood Fantasy Percussion. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, I'm wanting kind of a melody line here at measure 18, so I'm going to pull up the legato celli from Hollywood Strings 2. Now, a huge part of working with these virtual instruments is going to be making use of dynamics to breathe life and realism into a performance. Now, with many of the instruments that we've been using so far, the dynamics are controlled by velocity, or essentially how hard you're playing a note on your keyboard. But with many other instruments and articulations, usually the sustained articulations like legato, dynamics are actually going to be controlled either by the mod wheel on your keyboard or one of the sliders, depending on how you have things set up. So again, very important. Okay, let's go ahead and add some tremolo strings here at measure 14, just to kind of help fill things out. All right, so that's feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead and start building out this next phrase, and I'm going to start again in the string shorts. All right, now I'm going to add some low strings from Hollywood Fantasy Strings, and we're just going to start building this chord progression. Now let's add some high strings at measure 22. All right, now I'm going to use some brass sustains to help fill out that chord. All right, now let's go ahead and record some woodwind shorts, starting here at measure 22. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some driving percussion. And for this, I love the 3 bowrons from Hollywood Fantasy Percussion. So now we can just loop this all the way to the end of the piece. So now let's add some taikos to give us some low end in the percussion. Okay, now let's add some choir to just really fill this part out and make it soar. Okay, now let's add a melody line in this last phrase, and I'm going to be using some legato French horns for that. All right, and the last thing we need to do is just add some cymbal swells to give us some transitions between these phrases. So I'm going to go ahead and add one here at measure 22. And then let's just add one here at the end. All right, now let's go ahead and hear the whole piece. So it really is kind of amazing what you can do with just a few tracks when you're working with such high quality instruments. And it doesn't have to be complex to be effective. Simple techniques like switching up your colors every so often, instrument doubling, and of course, making full use of the instrument's dynamic range can really bring your music to life. And if you'd like to get a closer look at the piece we just wrote, you can download the MIDI file from the link in the video description. So if you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.